Hey, HR friends, welcome back. We're in the 5-2 emotional 6.5 day sequence. We're going to talk about the last 12 hours. Now, normally I'd say go up here and review the 5-2 emotional overview if this is your first forecast, but there's only 12 hours of this one left, okay? Hang with us on the next forecast and watch when we do the 5-3, and that will be very helpful for you because these overviews explain how to read these graphs, what it is we're talking about as we move through these 24-hour forecasts rather quickly. Now, the last 12 hours of the 5-2 sequence is going to be spicy. Okay, it started to get spicy in day 6, second half of it right here. You can see this emotional roller that's starting. That's that ocean analogy. So we're getting this roller or a swell in the electromagnetic current. Now, all the smaller polarity moments are stacking up on this. So third person agitations in this last 12 hours, definitely going to be on the radar. Okay. Now, when this last 12 hours kicks off, it's also worth mentioning that we've got this little upkick that we had in first person. We made it to a level 2 all the way up to a 4 before it kind of resets down to 0. Now, all in all, 4 is that number we worry about. This transition into the 5-3 is going to be relatively easy from the standpoint of how much our defensive design is going to be agitated during this transition. Sometimes we go through transitions and our defensive design is being agitated to the max. This is really being agitated at that much lower level. So, does it mean it's going to be easy? No, it's always challenging when we change out and we have a polarity flip to a new emotional sequence, a 6.5 day sequence. So, just be aware of that. All right, so that's enough about the last 12 hours of this sequence. Let's get down here and we're just going to briefly look at testing structure here for this last 12 hours. So for the last 12 hours before we flip into the 5-3, the left upper quadrant's going to have just a little bit of an exclamation point here. So if you feel that left upper quadrant start to stiffen up or tighten up, well, it's just trying to talk to you and help you understand which relationships and which routines are out of balance. Now, the right upper quadrant, that actually holds steady, even falls off a little bit. Left lower quadrant, in comparison to day 6, is actually going to kind of come back up again. And right lower quadrant, that's running at that 4 mark as well. So this is going to be a quick one. We're going to be back in 12 hours doing the next forecast, and we're going to talk about the entire 5-3 sequence when we get in here. Now, before we move down, I always like to remind people what they have to do if they want to slow aging, heal their body, and pass this objective. This is how easy it is. Don't let this pattern activate your defensive design and convince you that you don't have to get along with certain teammates. It's not true. We need to get along with every single person that exists in this world. We're all interconnected families. And when you decide not to get along with a specific family member, there are consequences to that. Okay. We need to be able to communicate, coordinate, alleviate stress between our relationships, and most importantly, organize every family in existence about a common routine. And that routine is so simple to understand. Every person on the team, every person in this interconnected existence should be focused on what they have to do to make sure that every future family is going to have a fair and balanced future because of what they invested. It's that simple. And if you're not investing your time and energy and resources in a way that it's going to help every future family, then you're going to have problems with these governing frequencies, and they're going to cause accelerated aging. They're going to cause the diseases that make you suffer. But most importantly, when you don't commit to the team and you don't balance your routine, what happens is you don't graduate. You don't get out of this negative feedback loop you're stuck in right now. Okay. So that's the transition. Now we're coming down here to look at the Plutonic Objective Master Key. These are the 64 things that you have to master in order to keep aging at the minimal rate, to revert or heal your body, and to graduate and get out of this negative biofeedback system. You literally just have to balance your choices. And to do that, you commit to the team and you balance your routine. These haven't changed, if you've noticed, the last couple of days, and they're not going to. When the 5-2 changes to the 5-3, this 8-4 ain't going nowhere. This is going to stay here till the end of the year. And this one's still got about another 4 days before it's going to switch out. This is a 7.5 day frequency. All right, so let's briefly go through these 2 mental frequencies, and then we're going to move on here. So the macro mental, this one's testing to see how balanced the world is going to be because of your choices in the future, and how balanced the future mothers are going to be because of your choices. Okay, that's what's happening here, is judging you on your choices. And if you're not balanced and you're not going to leave this world an equal, fair place for everybody, then in year 2024, it's going to put a lot of pressure on this left lower quadrant. So if you've been having some left lower quadrant stuff that's been nagging you all year, it's the 8-4 that's getting you. Okay. Now, if your current routine isn't ensuring that the future mothers of the world are going to be respected and equally important as every other member of the family, then unfortunately, you're going to have some right quadrant stuff going on. So in year 2024, if your right quadrant, that right lower quadrant, has been giving you problems and it's been going on all year, it's the 8-4 that's responsible for that. Now, this 6-7, this is that 7.5 day frequency. It's got a few more days here. This is checking to see how balanced future families are going to be because of your routine and your choices, and how balanced future nations are going to be because of your routines and your choices. Now, if they're going to be balanced, you got no worries. But if your choices right now aren't leading to a future that's going to be balanced for these two perspectives, then there are consequences for that. For the family one, the consequences come into the right lower quadrant. And for the national one, that's going to affect the left upper quadrant. Now, the last two we're going to talk about here are the emotional and the physical macro. And there's only one today. A lot of times we have a P1 and a P2. We're only doing a P1 because it's actually synchronizing. These two are going to synchronize on the 5-2. And this is the exclamation point at the end of a 5-2 lesson. Okay. Now, the lesson has been about, well, how are your choices affecting individuals of the future? And how are your choices affecting immature males of the future? Now, if they're balanced, you got no worries. If your choices are unbalanced, specifically in this 12 hours, it's really going to test heavily, and it's going to test in the individual side here, the individual perspective. That's going to put pressure on the left upper quadrant. Now, if you're struggling with the younger teammates' perspective and making sure it's going to be fair and balanced for them in the future, then you're going to feel that in the left lower quadrant. That's how that works. Now, when these two pair up, the next awareness that's going to start here, and we'll get back to doing these the way we have been. All right, let's keep moving here. So this is going to be a long day in alignments. Now, we're just going to talk about this 12 hours. And in this 12 hours, well, pretty much all the alignments are right there. Now, the two things that we're being tested on by alignments, the blue alignments. So if you go to our live feed, a little time bar comes up. It shows you exactly where we are. So if you're going through one of these blue alignments, you're going to feel it in your upper left quadrant if you're out of balance with that test. And the test is to see how well you can get along with the older members of the team. Now, it doesn't matter if they're older, younger, male, or female. You have to master relationship. You have to be able to communicate, coordinate, help each other work through stress, and most importantly, talk about routines and changing routines and making balance in this world. If you're not talking about that stuff and you're too worried about what you're going to do for you, you're going to be out of balance with these frequencies, and you're likely going to be feeling it in that upper left quadrant. Okay. Now, the longest and strongest alignment of the day, that's this guy right here. It's almost 12 hours long. It's going to affect the left lower quadrant. This has to do with routines. Now, these are the smaller routines, so individual and family routine. Now, you have to balance your routine at every level. You could be contributing at the individual level, the family level, the national level, and the world level. And a lot of us have overinvested in the family and individual level. And if you overinvest, there's a penalty for that too, because if you overinvest in this, you're underinvesting somewhere else. You have to find balance if you want your body to be healthy. And this means that every future family better benefit from the choices and the routines that you're making. It's not just your family you got to worry about. You got to worry about all families because that's what we all have in common. So this is going to be a pretty obvious day in testing. This is going to amplify things, and people are definitely going to be feeling this on the left side of their body, both left upper and left lower quadrant. Now, before we move down and talk about the bottom charts here, I want you just to see the electromagnetics that are going to happen at the transition. So when we stop the 5-2 and move into the 5-3, we got this little mountain we're going to have to cross here together. And you can see how third person agitation shoots way up, and then in a split second, this drops down, and then first person agitation comes up. I'm warning you, before we get to the 5-3, you need to know that this is a highly likely place for you to have conflict with the people in your general sphere, the people you see on a day-to-day basis, your family members, your community members, the people you work with. Don't be fooled by this pattern. Do not get agitated. Do not make more stress for yourself. This is your warning about what's coming here. Now, This is a big transition, but it's just for a short time. And then this is going to back down. We're going to be okay. We'll get through this. Not a problem. All right. All right, so we don't really have to talk about these. These are the testing structure. We'll have the next week up here when we do the 5-3. This just gives you the entire week up. The same thing here. You have access to all the alignment charts, but now we're done with the 5-2 here, so the 5-3 will have new ones. And then at the end here, you still have access to this too. You can go ahead to the end of 2024. We show you when this electromagnetic pattern is going to elevate so that you're prepared for it and you don't let the defensive design of your body make you fail this objective, age faster, and get sick and suffer. We're trying to help you, as many people as we can. The more people we help, the more it's actually going to help us all. We're going to be able to settle down all this social conflict that's starting to take over, and we're going to be able to help our environment and our weather stabilize again. That's what we're up to here at Health Reconnected. Can't wait to see you in the 5-3. Talk to you then.